Bonn Park podcast is supported by one of my favorites, Gifted in Waterloo. Gifted in Waterloo was founded in 2015 as a place for people to find unique, practical, and beautiful home decor, kitchenware, barware, and a fabulous selection of cards and paper. Owner Sylvia Horn has a natural affinity for high-quality gifts and a passion for supporting local artists and creators like Robin Andrade and her photographic series of iconic buildings and local businesses that include Harmony Lunch, Carry On Comics, Macintosh Cleaners, and many more recognizable landmarks around town. Sylvia carries the work of independent suppliers and great designers locally across Canada and the US. From bookish apparel and accessories, from out-of-print to fun Waterloo Region themed stickers, from KW Famous to exquisite enamel jewelry by Toronto-based artist Torch Studio. For cooperative games, puzzles, and pins to fruit and vegetable themed stuffies, funky coasters, and hand-drawn illustrations by Made by Maggie, Gifted has the perfect gift for anyone. With Sylvia's laid-back, no-pressure, friendly approach to customer service, it isn't hard to get sidetracked just listening to the music in her store while finding items for yourself, amidst a wide range of bath products, totes, and fun accessories that are unique to the area. Gifted is a store with soul, packed with tons of awesome, affordable, and imaginative gift ideas you won't find on just any shelf. Gifted is located at 181 Park Street near Uptown Waterloo. Like Gifted Waterloo on Facebook or Instagram at Gifted Waterloo. Currently, Gifted is taking online orders for delivery or curbside pickup. Contact them through Instagram at Gifted Waterloo. I'm going to be honest, I've been taking full advantage of this feature.
Welcome to Bonn Park.
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 Welcome to Bonn Park. I'm Sara Geidlinger.
And I'm Marshall Ward.
And today we have Giselle Sanderson.
Yeah, Giselle is a Juno and CCMA nominated recording artist, and I'm so excited to have her here on Bonn Park this week.
Giselle's a former member of the band Lace, and she's put out her third solo album and has a new single called Counterfeit.
And we have some live music tonight, and she's going to perform a few songs for us here in our studio.
Yeah, she blew me away. Let's just get to it.
Yeah.
Round and around goes the merry-go-round of words that keep sounding the same. No matter how hard we try, we can't see eye to eye. Still no one's to blame. I've got my side of the story, and you got yours too. We share one history from 2 points of view. You see it your way, and I'll see it mine. And the truth is, nobody's lying. No more dividing who's wrong and who's right. The truth becomes what we believe. The space between your heart and mine might fill over time. Let time do the healing. I've got my side of the story, and you got yours too. We share one history from 2 points of view. You see it your way, and I'll see it mine. And the truth is, nobody's lying. Victim or villain, we were both more than willing to just keep on justifying. I we share one history from 2 points of view. You see it your way, and I'll see it mine. And the truth is, nobody's lying. Nobody's lying. Good girls try, then we try harder. Stainless steel, shining like armor. A perfect wife, model mother and martyr. I run and I run till I'm breathless. Never see me cry, my smile is relentless. The people pleasing is endless. When will my good be good enough? Is who I am enough to love? In a could be better, never really measure up. Should be perfect world. Where is the grace for the good girl? They sell and they sell, tell us we got this, save the world. Looking magazine flawless, take our bow for best supporting actress. When will my good be good enough? Is who I am enough to love? In a could be better, never really measure up. Should be perfect world. Where is the grace for the good girl? I'm gonna tell myself for today that it's okay just to be okay. Do my best, worry a whole lot less. If my good is good enough, if who I am's enough to love, in a could be better, never really measure up. Should be perfect world. Where is the grace? When will my good be good enough? Is who I am enough to love? In a could be better, never really measure up. Should be perfect world. Where is the grace for the good girl?
So Giselle Sanderson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're really happy you're here. I want to find out how you and Marshall met.
Sure.
Yes. So when I was a parent at the KW Bilingual School, quite early on, I had already, like years prior, before becoming a parent, I had listened to, I watched much music and much more music. And
Music Plus.
and CMT. And I basically flipped between those three channels.
You and me both.
That was how I consumed music, was I was constantly in search of videos and new music. Again, much music, over to much music, over to CMT constantly. And I had a pretty good appetite for all three of those channels. And one of the groups on there was Lace. And they had a few singles right at the end of the 90s there, I guess early 2000s.
Yes, we did.
And I knew who the women were. It was Beverly Mahud and Giselle Sanderson, and then Corby Diane,
Yes.
and then Stacey Lee.
Correct.
Right. So anyways, I was at the KW Bilingual School, dropping my daughter off one day, and I walked through the hallway, and I thought, wow, look at that mom. She looks so much like Giselle from
I gotta tell her.
from Lace, right? And I thought, that's weird, right? She was like doing up a shoe or something like that. And then I'd see you again, right? And I remember thinking, if I ever strike up a conversation with this woman, I'm going to say, do you know the band Lace? Because I never thought, like, why would she be here? in Waterloo. Like I didn't know where
awesome.
they're from. And one day it was the end of school. I'm walking by, and the music director at our school walks by and says, "Hi, Giselle." Right?
And did you faint?
Yeah. I was
Yeah, whatever.
I was like, what? And I knew, and I think you also knew my newspaper column
I
at that
did.
point.
Yes.
So we instantly struck up a conversation. and
Yes,
yeah,
I
it's
knew
fantastic.
you also. Yeah, so it was
So
fun to
secret
connect.
fans of each other wondering, is that Marshall?
Yeah.
Is that just
No, I just thought, why would she be here?
doesn't she live far off land where famous people live?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in LA or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm so glad I met you that day.
Likewise, because we've had some fun chats and shared music and books.
We both have that book called The Mindful Writer.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
I
I've
keep
heard
it
you
on
quote
my-
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep it on my nightstand.
And I don't know if I ever asked you, but why are you here in Waterloo Region?
I grew up not far from here. So before we were living in Nashville and doing the LA back and forth thing, I grew up on a farm in Westmont Rose. So I went to school around here, and so I guess it stands to reason that I'd settle back here near family. And I've started to have my own family, so it's nice to be around, cousins and things like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so West Montrose, that's like near the Kissing Bridge, yes?
It is.
That's
It
the
is.
famous landmark?
Yeah, it's still there and it's
Yep.
still famous.
Yeah.
Yes, and also I should note that the studio that I started in is here in Kitchener-Waterloo, which is Cedartree
Oh, yeah.
Studios with
Yep.
Rick Hutt. So any music that I make right now or demos or most of the work I do happens out of Cedartree with Rick. So he's been
So old school.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
he's been a part of my life since like 19. Yeah,
Oh, great.
So
till now.
I'm a huge Northern Pikes fan.
Yes.
And Rick Hutt produced.
Are you?
That's right.
the Snow and June records. So,
Yeah.
anyways, tell me about Rick Hutt. I've met him a few times, but tell me what he's like.
He's just an amazing human. He's ginormously talented, obviously, with music, and has produced some huge acts, the Pikes, with Tom Cochran and Lace, Jamie Warren, Jason Barry, and Shane Gousset, who play now with Dean Brody. There's a real community, a real family of musicians that are in and out of Cedartree all the time. But besides his music talents, he's just such a great person and was a great role model for me and mentor. Because I don't know, the music industry can be overwhelming coming in as a young person, and I think it's really I consider myself very lucky that I had someone that I could trust that was there to guide me through the beginning stages of all of that.
It's not everyone's story all the time, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot of sad stories. And so that was my foundation where I started, and I feel super lucky for that.
I'm not clear. How did Rick Hutt and David Foster work together? I'm not familiar with this idea of producers collaborating.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were signed to David Foster's record label 143 Records, and then we were distributed by Warner Brothers Nashville. But during the producing, there were 3 producers. So there was David, actually 4, I guess, David, and then Humberto Gatica, who works with Celine Dion a lot, and then Chris Farron. So he was working and with Keith Urban at the time. And then so they would fly tracks up to Canada, like for Rick. So Rick worked on 3 of the tracks with us, which was so fun because he's where we started. So it was great to have him involved in this big record that we were doing in the States. So with technology, it's not hard.
Yeah.
They're flying our tracks and our vocals, and yeah. I'm talking with my hands, but anyone listening to this can't see me, so I should make sure.
There's a flying motion happening. There's a track flying motion. I'm doing it now too.
When you look back on that time of your life, does it feel short now, like with Lace? Like,
It does. Like what's that saying? The days are long, but the years are short. I mean, at the time, we were really tired and touring a lot and exhausted, and there seemed to be a lot of, demands on us coming from all sides. But yeah, now when I look back, I was just talking to Beverly back a couple of weeks ago, and we just might work together again. You might
that
hear
sounds like
some more
fun.
from Lace. But I mean, some days it feels like yesterday, and then other days I feel like I was a baby back then. So, yeah.
I feel that way about a lot of things.
Yeah, me too.
So you played 3 beautiful songs for us that we're going to spread out across this episode. And I'm so glad that Marshall, and that you came here, because I think I needed this. I haven't heard live music in a little while. We've done a few podcasts, but
hey, I needed
what a
it.
wonderful surprise.
Thank you for having me, and just being able to play live was. I noticed as I was playing how good that feels, and it's been a while for me too. It's a crazy time.
It is a crazy time. I've listened to a little bit of your stuff online. And it's very different, though, because when you came in tonight and I heard your speaking, like your talking voice, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this because your voice is beautiful.
Thank
you. Your speaking voice is beautiful.
Oh,
and I'm like, how is this going to translate here? And oh my gosh, did it ever deliver? That was fantastic. I was hearing some, I don't want to, I do this without thinking. I draw comparisons, right? Everybody does.
Sure.
But what I was hearing in some of the music was like maybe a really polished Carole King.
Oh,
so Carole King was kind of dusty and raw. So I hear like a polished Carole King sound, but not copycat. Like,
no,
I just hear it. And I also heard
huge compliment.
Some Sarah Harmery type.
Oh man, I love her. You're just like pressing all my buttons here.
The lilting parts of her voice, but I also hear it in the edge that you have. And then also, I don't know if you're familiar with M. Griner, who's she played in like a real Canadiana band. They're pretty young. Trent Severn is the name of the band. But she does all of her own stuff, and she has a very interesting voice too. So look her up. But those were the sounds that I was hearing. But also with your own touch to it. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, that was really nice to
have a fun little story to attach to that.
Do it.
So I met Carole King.
No, you did not.
I did, for real. And we were recording in Los Angeles, and she was working in the studio across the hall from us. And I knew some of her stuff, but the musical Beautiful wasn't out. I didn't know all of her songs. And my boyfriend at the time ran out and bought a Tapestry CD, and we walked over and asked if she would sign it. She was so nice.
Oh my gosh.
She was so nice. Like, I wish that I would have, like, somehow, we didn't have cell phones back then. Like, there was no Instapicture, or like, I didn't. But so it's in my memory, but she was a beautiful person. Mm-hmm. And then now in the last 2 years, I've been working with a friend of mine, Jim Witter, and we've been touring the States with a Carole King, James Taylor show.
Wow.
In theaters. So, and it's called Fire and Rain. And so it's so fun for me to sing her music when I have actually met her.
That's fantastic.
And then for you to say that's like makes me smile.
Well, I'm so glad that was special for you, because I definitely heard it.
Are you a mystic? How did you know?
I'm not a mystic, and like I said, it wasn't a copycat sound. I was just like, I hear that edge. Like I want to tell you. It's not something that I'm like, you sound like, I want to tell you. I hear it, and that's special.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
The song Grace for the Good Girl.
Yes.
I relate.
Yeah. I don't need to be a woman to understand that song. And oh my gosh, you remember?
You've been a stay-at-home dad. You understand that
song.
song.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I would say I get the most comments on that song after a show out of all of them.
Or a big cheer.
Or a big cheer, yeah. Yes.
I remember talking to you about writing that album, if you ask me.
Yes.
And that's such an amazing record. It's just, I've listened to it endlessly.
Thank you.
And there's so many different layers to it. And that was a collaborative effort, right? You do co-songwriting.
Yes.
So how does that work?
I love co-writing. I think for people who have maybe written on their own their whole life, it can be intimidating to sit down with someone else. And I still get intimidated sometimes, depending on who's in the room.
Do you get intimidated for letting their ideas in, or for sharing yours?
Probably mostly for sharing mine.
Just curious, because that's how I would feel.
if it resonates with someone else the way I think it will, with you get these ideas and you think the way you feel is possibly the way everyone else feels, and sometimes that's the case and sometimes not. But I do prefer co-writing. I feel like it opens things up. It opens up your perspective. You're privy to all their musical talents as well as your own. And I feel like I end up with a stronger song at the end of it all than I do when I just write by myself. So I usually start in a co-writing thing. The odd time I've written songs by myself, but I prefer co-writing for sure.
They're fantastic and they're very strong. So it's obviously working.
Yeah. And I mean, that comes with finding the right co-writer relationships. Sure. There was a time when I wrote with everyone who I could. And now I have a small circle of people that I connect with. And
Do co-writers sometimes help finish a song? Like, so in my newspaper column, I have a secret friend who
awesome.
I hand it over to sometimes, and I say I don't have a closing line here.
Yeah.
He sends it back, and there it is. It's like,
yes.
And then I always tell Marshall, I love this line. He's like, yeah, it wasn't mine.
Yeah. great closing line, they say.
Oh, sure, yeah. That can definitely happen because in the creative process, I'm sure it's easy to get stuck. And a co-writer will help you get unstuck. Whereas when you're just left to your own, it could be weeks and weeks before you can move that baby along. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
What did you learn from David Foster?
He, it was pretty fun going to meet him. Super, super nervous, like shaky nervous. Mm-hmm. And he lives at the time, you had to speak into a speaker and this big gate would open. We could drive through and then you had to drive up this big windy laneway and we'd pass the studio and then up to his house. And, but when we got into the studio, he just had a ball cap on and a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and he was the most down to earth guy, which made it easier for me. But I definitely learned, I guess how to bring my A game because he doesn't have a lot of time for you to find your confidence, right? So it's like, okay, this is the moment. I'm auditioning for this group.
Yeah, we don't have time for me to be shy here, right? Yeah.
No. So all of that has to just go away really quick and you go in and give it your absolute best. And I felt like that every time we recorded with him. I think that was good for me to not be able to flounder in my nerves and just have to bring it. Yeah.
I kind of think that can be good for everybody in a lot of situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, we're living in a crazy time here, but do we want to always, like with our children or with ourselves or our partners, do we always want to sort of like, baby foot around the idea or do we want to be like, this is go time. Let's power through this. Let's figure this out.
And surround with people that make you be your best self, right? Yeah.
That ask more of you maybe.
Yeah. Right? Stretch your limits, all those things.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
How did your creativity change when you became a parent, and how did you find
less time, less brain power?
Yeah, those years, and did you have long periods of time where it wasn't there for you, and can you kind of reflect on that?
Yes, I can absolutely. I did have a hard time being creative when the babies were little. For one, I'm an introvert, so a lot of my creativity comes when I'm alone, and so when you have babies.
You're never alone.
They're with you all the time, which is lovely and wonderful. But it's really easy to lose your sense of self a bit. And even when you're aware of that every day, like I'm going to hold on to what makes me me. I'm not going to lose myself in motherhood. But I think it's just a little impossible to not have that happen in some capacity. So just the pure alone time to even have those creative ideas entering my brain, those moments were few and far between. And was really tired, really tired during those years. But I would say it has given back to me tenfold later in our life. So in looking back on their childhood and the way they've made me see myself, because children are like little mirrors, right? Even stuff you don't want to see, they will show back to you.
They sure do.
Yeah. So that happens to me all the time, and they challenge me all the time. And, songwriting sort of like journaling for me sometimes. And when I look at the stages of my life, you can almost see my own personal growth in the songs that I've written. And I attribute a lot to that to my kids. Yeah.
We sometimes talk on here about like the artist sketchbook when we're talking about actual visual art, like, people that draw and paint and how you're supposed to save that work so you can look back to see how you've grown, and also just like it's part of your history. And I think that goes the same for what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Right? Like you look back on that earlier work or those earlier pieces and, you can see that.
For sure. The very first single I ever released was called I Want the Fairy Tale.
Right.
I don't think I would write that now.
No, of course you wouldn't.
But when I was 18, that's what I thought I wanted.
And
18,
other
19.
18-year-olds or younger,
Sure.
or older, they want to hear that
Sure.
at that time, right?
You're
That's somebody's
speaking
story.
to a different audience. Yeah.
It's a real feeling. People
Yeah.
go through that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your title track, if you ask me, has always really spoken to me, and it's about.
Marshall looks so whimsical right
Yeah,
now, thinking about the song.
It's
I'm
about
loving
how
it.
the life you're living wasn't what you quite pictured it being.
Yes.
And it seems to go on and on and on and on, even though the time does pass and you do get past certain parts of it.
Yes.
Like when your kids are young, it feels like it's going to go on forever kind of thing.
Yes.
But also just how it's amazing how many years go by where you don't see your friends and you don't do the things you used to do. And I love that song.
Thank you.
It's not a downer. It's a pretty upbeat
Yeah.
song. I think it's about being pretty grateful too. Just the never-ending treadmill that we find ourselves
Treadmill
on.
of life. Yeah.
And then I guess it ends at some point when your kids all move away.
I guess only one of mine have moved away.
Right,
But
yeah.
I think in that song too, it's talking about sometimes you can feel alone in that process, like feel like the other person's life is happening and their life hasn't changed at all, and I am stuck and I don't feel creative. I'm not doing the things that I used to do. And in that song, the partner ends up saying, look, this isn't how I drew up my life either. Like, do you think I love being gone all the time? I hate it. And I'm missing my kids growing up. And so there's always the two sides to every story, or three. And so I don't know. I find that song kind of probably rings true for a lot of couples. A lot of, there's
I'm thinking of
experiences.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm thinking of a parallel with the first song that you sang. You were talking about, I wrote down here, you're talking about the fighting, right? It's like a fight or a conversation, and there's two points of view, and trying to make the space between the two hearts come together. And nobody's lying. We're both telling our truth, but we're not connecting through it. Like, that's a huge part of the fairy tale. I'm making air quotes.
Yeah.
The fairy tale, right?
Yeah, that song started out, there's three sides to every story, or, that kind of thing. And the more we talked about it, the more we kind of came to the conclusion that like you just said it, two people can experience a different truth and neither one is lying. Right. That's really how they experienced it, and how difficult that can be to navigate in a relationship. Right. And there's really no villain in all of that.
No, nobody's lying.
Right?
Yeah. Nobody's trying to be the bad guy.
No.
Nobody's trying to cause a rift. It's just they're not connecting with it.
Are in tune with their version. Yeah.
That takes a ton of emotional maturity to get to that point, though, where you can see it like that.
Yes.
And hopefully both people are there at the same time, but sometimes,
sometimes
that
ebb and
doesn't
flow.
happen.
Yeah.
Counterfeit for me is this cautionary tale where I think, are there really snakes out there that are just so bad that they...
Yes.
The
answer is yes.
But both of you have these amazing skills of intuition and observation, and yet you can still be fooled by something so clever.
I'm incredibly gullible when it comes to people. Like sorry, this question wasn't for me. This was for Giselle, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer it. I usually give people 100% of my trust and love and appreciation, and then we work backwards from there. And it has really bitten me like a snake a few times in my life. I mean, I think it takes age and time, but like with friends or family, you give all of this, like, oh, like this person is coming from the same platform I'm coming from. They're not lying.
Must be. Yeah.
Why would you lie? We just met.
Right.
What is there to lie about? Lots. There's lots for people to lie about.
And that just speaks to where they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not in the place that you're in yet.
Yeah, I think I might like shamefully tell the truth, and maybe that's an error also. But
like feeling the need to do that, right?
Yeah, like you don't need to know
all
stuff.
Of my stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Marshall?
The story of Counterfeit, I think about how I guess there are women out there who just so badly imagine a certain life for themselves, and they picture something that they just
at any cost they're gonna get.
Yeah, and they want it so bad, and maybe they do see some red flags along the way, but
they choose to ignore them. I think that, and I mean, I certainly have had times in my life where I thought I could make a situation into what I wanted.
Oh yeah, maybe don't ask, maybe ignore the red flags, or you don't ask the questions so that you don't deviate from what you believe of a person.
And what's that saying? When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah. Exactly. Strong advice.
That was a growth quote for me. Yeah.
I've never asked you, what music did you grow up with? Like, what was in your childhood?
West Montrose country.
I was just thinking about this. There's certain songs like I think one of the first songs I ever heard was like "Put Your Head on My Shoulder" by Paul Anka or
Oh,
something.
that's a great memory.
And just it's amazing how those songs just stay with you. And it's it was in like my parents' rec room. There's something so warm about hearing that for the first time. And
Love
first time
it.
you hear "Be My Baby" or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your first experiences as a kid hearing music?
This is gonna sound kind of like funny, but
I can't wait. Is
my
it rap?
No, well, Led Zeppelin. My dad loved and the Led Zeppelin 2 album was his favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So I know every song on that album off
Fantastic.
by heart, which
You should do
is kind of funny.
You should do like a dreamy
Ramble
Led Zeppelin
on version. Yeah,
Well, like cover the album, but do it dreamy, right? Why not?
that's a great idea.
Ramble On's one of my all-time favorite
love
songs.
that
I
song.
can never get sick of
That's
it.
one of my faves.
Mm-hmm.
So that album, my dad really liked blues. So, and the records were going on. But then I had grandparents that loved classical music. So I'm very familiar with a lot of that. And I grew up playing the violin. So I have and then my mom loved country.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all of those at play in my history.
So is violin your music base where you got started, or were you a piano player? Or what?
That is how I started.
Yeah.
Yeah, guitar was later in my life. And I've kind of stuck with that. I haven't played my violin a lot. It hangs on a wall and looks really pretty in my music room, but I haven't played. Once in a while, I take it out and play it for my kids, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, I don't know you could do that.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool. What a great party trick for at home, right?
Trick, yeah, when I want to impress friends. No.
There, you could do a Led Zeppelin violin cover album.
Yeah.
I would buy it. I'll give you my money right now if you do it.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be so fun to alter the artwork a little bit on
Oh, for sure.
the album covering.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
Hey, I think one of the things I loved so much about Lace was the harmonies, obviously.
Yeah, me
and
too.
Almost
Me
like
too.
sisters singing. It's like when you hear like something about brothers and sisters singing. I thought Lace sounded like you'd almost be sisters. And
I think there's a trust thing that happens.
yeah, how do harmonies work? Like when you first get together, how do those voices get put together, and what adjustments are made to get them to that point?
Right. That's an interesting question, just because of how we came to be. So Beverly was meeting with David before I came on board, and David had this idea to put a 3-girl group out. And there wasn't any yet. So there was no Dixie Chicks, no Shadaisy. So the intention was that Lace would be first out of the gate. So he had been in BC and saw some of Beverly's videos, loved her. And then they were chatting about this group. And I think they had a number of girls in LA come and audition for the group. And it didn't go so well because I think a lot of people could sing lead, but they could not sing a harmony.
Mm-hmm.
That,
It's not easy.
No, and
I've never been
it's
able
a
to do it.
learned thing, and so it's not something you can just teach to someone like that. They had to kind of have a feel for harmony already. So then Beverly said, well, look, my friend Giselle and I have been singing on each other's records back at home. We're already singing harmonies on each other's solo projects. You should hear her. And he thankfully listened to her and flew me down, and that's how that began. Then we had to find our third. And we ended up finding Corby in Texas, and she ended up leaving the band at a certain point, and that's when Stacey Lee came and joined, and she is from this area as well, and we had all sang together at different times at Cedartree Studios.
Wonderful.
In Kitchener-Waterloo.
Yeah.
So we had talked about that sisters just have this thing. They have an intuitiveness with, the movement and mapping vocals, and we wanted to get to that. But I think it helped that we had kind of come up together singing on each other's stuff already. Not sisters, but very close.
And you get used to what each other's range is and where you can help and where you can lean on the others to help you.
Yes.
Right?
And you almost know, like when they would play us a song, we already knew that Stacey would take the third below, I would take the third above, and Bev would sit in the middle. And, like we just knew.
That's great.
Yeah.
The beautiful comfort to have there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
And I never thought of Lace as having a lead singer. Was that established early on that everybody would get a part kind of thing and take?
Yeah, I think we were, all supposed to share the lead, and we did. I would say the songs that we released more often, Beverly was singing the lead, but that worked in our favor too because she had a pretty established solo career already. So that voice was recognizable. And so we kind of got to ride on the success that she had already had as a solo artist.
It's good to have momentum. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned the Dixie Chicks there. I was reading yesterday that they just dropped Dixie from their name because of the Confederate connotation. I thought, that's a bold move. You go for it, girls.
Lady Antebellum.
I saw that. Yeah, a little bit back. Yeah.
And
living and learning.
It is a crazy time.
It's a crazy time.
Yeah. Have they said what they're changing it to?
Just Chicks.
Just the Chicks.
I don't even know. I think it's just Chicks. There might not even be the.
I think that's what the fans call them anyway. So
it's natural then.
Yeah.
I've always kind of admired how they take a lead. Easy Silence is one of my favorite songs. So the recovery after the George Bush comments, and I think that's what that was. But yeah, just thinking about it, I'm already getting goosebumps.
Or the first time I heard Gaslighter.
Oh my God.
They're back.
They are back. Yes, I love them.
They're usually not quiet about being back. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you love about them, though.
Totally.
They've never been quiet.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I know. I really enjoy
What
them.
kind of music are your kids into?
Oh, my son loves rap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me a little bit twitchy. And my daughter loves theater. So that I can sing with her, and we have lots of fun doing that stuff. And of course, just like pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's always on the radio in the car. And every time I try to play the coffee house or on satellite radio, they always want to hear Hits One. But
driving in the car with the kids is funny with music because there comes a time when it's no longer your choice.
We are there.
Yeah, we're
they
there
run
too.
the radio.
My parents had strict rules that it's driver's choice of music, and you just have to deal with it. So I just assumed we would have that rule if I instilled it. No, it hasn't happened. But I remember, I love brooding, moody, sad songs. They make me feel so happy. I love it. It's just so indulgent, and it feels great. And I remember driving in the car once with my youngest daughter. She was maybe 8 at the time. And I was listening to Julian Baker. I don't know if you're familiar with Julian Baker. It's good stuff. I'll share it with you guys. And she goes, Mom, can we turn this off? It makes me feel like I'm forgetting something or missing something. And I can't put my finger on it. I was like, oh, baby, yeah, that's why I listen to it.
I'm the same. I love those gutting sad songs. But I feel it's because it feels good to feel.
Yeah.
And there's so much music out now that doesn't have that effect on me that when I find one, I just want to sit in it for a little bit.
Exactly. You said it perfectly.
What did the music landscape look like when you were recording those Lace records? Do you remember looking around and thinking, this is a good fit for us right now? Or did you feel what were you thinking when you saw yourself on CMT and all these other artists around you right in that pocket of time? Is it 99 to 2001 pretty much right in there?
Yeah, I felt like we were singing. I was looking forward to recording more songs that I had written, but at the time when I look at that record and what they're trying to do with the first record, they're trying to appeal to as many people as possible. So those specific gut-wrenching sad songs,
the good stuff.
Yeah, that's not probably going to be. There's going to be a lot of that on a first album. So, but yeah, I mean, at the time, Keith Urban was coming out at the same time, and the Dixie Chicks were coming out at the same time, and I was really proud of what we were doing, and I felt like we belonged, and it was a bit of a strange time in the music industry then as well. That was right when in Nashville you saw on Music Row, all the record companies closing their doors. And that was happening at Warner Brothers as well. So that is an interesting dynamic when you need the staff on board and plugging your record, and everybody's, not sure if they're going to have a job tomorrow or what everything's going to look like. So it was really uneasy at that time. But So I don't know if that answers
Oh,
your
totally.
question
Yeah.
about the landscape.
What
Yeah.
was touring like for you guys? You know, you hear all these rock star stories or, you know, small musician stories. And
Yeah.
is it fun? Is it glamorous? Did you enjoy? Or is it like hotels and buses?
We had both total extremes. Like, I mean, when we would have tour and like all at the same time, we would have these music videos on, and I'm sure people thought we were happening, and like we must have like nice houses, and like we could barely pay for our cars. And
You're like, can I borrow your eyeliner? I am
Totally,
out. Mine's like this
totally.
big.
It's like that. And we were still sleeping on van floors
Oh,
for
wow.
some stretches. You know what I mean? Like where we were taking shifts on who got the bench seat and who got the floor. And then all of a sudden we'd do a tour with Kenny Rogers and we got to borrow his bus. And that was like luxury.
We
We're like,
made
what?
it.
I have
Yeah.
a bunk. This is amazing. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So both extremes for sure.
Where are you at now with your music?
Well, live gigs are really not happening.
No.
So that's a strange time for everybody and all my friends, and I worry about them a little bit because there's so many question marks. Nobody knows where all the pieces are going to land. But I was able to play an outdoor patio at a certain place last weekend.
Fantastic.
And I heard that the odd place is doing that, and there was lots of space around me because we were outside. So I don't know. I've heard that people are sort of taking chances with that, though, because there's differing opinions on if that's okay or
There's
not.
differing opinions on everything about what's okay or not. It's
Yeah.
Marshall and I have talked about this a lot. Like even coming directly from the government, we're still
Still going,
can
what?
you? Yeah. Like what can I do? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that now is as important as ever to have new music. So I am going to release a single. I'm going to put Counterfeit goes to radio in July for
Wonderful.
some summer music because I think people really need it.
They do. Everyone needs a summer song.
And there's no festivals and there's no, at least we have radio. So I'm going to try and pour some love into that. And
I remember talking to you about this. So this is fascinating to me. And I hadn't really realized how this works. I guess there's artists out there like Ron Sexsmith who will write a song, and then Michael Bublé will pick it up.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
And it becomes a massive song, and that's not.
Which I'm sure Ron Sexsmith was very happy about.
I'm sure he was. That's many. Or like I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain some of Justin Bieber's hits were written by Ed Sheeran in the recent past couple years. I once met Justin Bieber at Conestoga Mall. And I didn't have my phone with me. I was there getting the phone
Oh, I
fixed.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun.
It was very brief and very awkward and also incredibly fun.
Were you alone?
I was with Justina.
Oh, wow.
And no one believes us.
Oh,
My husband's
gosh.
even a little bit like,
Are you sure?
I'm like, trust me.
Sorry, why didn't you get a photo?
We were there to go to the Apple store to fix my phone. And I had told her not
Wasn't
to bring hers because, you want to be a good parent. It's like, don't bring your device. Let's, connect,
I do have a friend who met him in Shoppers Drug Mart in Stratford, and
See?
he said no pictures, please. So he
Oh,
might
there.
not
So
have
thank
liked
God.
that.
Thank
I
goodness
don't
I
know.
didn't try.
Yeah,
He
I
was
don't-
very pleasant and very
Good.
gracious.
That's
And he thought it was
awesome.
cool that my daughter's name was Justina.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that's so
Right.
cute.
Yeah, I know. We met him down by the
I
bay.
can't believe I don't know that story.
That's great.
Well, I'm glad you believe me.
we
Yeah.
unveiled the new story.
I know.
Do you,
sorry.
Do you believe my story about meeting Giselle at the school?
Well, I do now. Yeah. But we were talking about
It's almost
something.
the
What was
same
it?
for sure.
Sorry, but you can put a song out there.
Oh, right.
And-
And have
and-
someone else cut it.
How does that work? Like, where are you putting it? Like,
Well, I do a digital release
Yeah.
to radio, and then you hope that the stations add you. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And you have a tracker phoning them for you and saying, hey, are you playing the new Giselle single?
Oh,
And
fantastic.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then if anyone ever wants to record one of my songs, I would say, yes, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes. The more
Sign right here.
the writer is always happy about that.
For
Yeah.
sure. How beautiful would that be?
Yeah.
And how, like, to see somebody else interpret your art, like,
Yes.
I'm making an exploding heart
I
motion.
have written for other people,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because sometimes the interpretation is really different than what yours was. But that's a growth thing too. Like I would react much differently to that now than I did when I was a young writer.
Oh, for sure, right? Because
I'm more territorial when I was younger. Like, don't change it, And
as we get older, we learn how to share.
yeah,
right?
I'm like, make it yours.
well, actually, it has to do with voice and teaching voice. I know you're a vocal coach.
Yeah.
And how does what do you hear in people's voices, and how do you get them somewhere that they want to get to? I understand piano lessons and guitar lessons,
Yeah.
but I don't at all understand voice.
Right.
Yeah.
When when I've done teaching at KW Bilingual, and I teach out of my own studio at home too. And I would say that the biggest thing that we work on is confidence, because a voice will take on a completely different tone as you become more confident than it does when you sing nervous, right? It'll be thin, it'll be shaky. And then once
You won't take bigger swings.
Yeah. So it's so fun to watch my students at the end of the year recital compared to when I met them at the beginning of the year or years prior. Some I've known for a really long time. And the confidence is amazing. Like you said, taking the bigger swings and going for those bigger notes with purpose and conviction and thinking about what they're singing about. So that there's emotion that they're delivering, not just copying Ed Sheeran's version off the radio. So I'd say confidence is a really big one. And then we do performance coaching too. So that's also bringing their body into it. So the more that they engage their body when they're singing, the more confident the vocal is. So, they'll come in standing stiff as a stick, and really nervous with the microphone and not know what to do. But when they start like keeping a rhythm or holding their mic stand or engaging their arms or anything, you'll hear it in the vocal. So that's so much fun for me to watch. And then just as their whole personhood is also getting confident as they're doing that.
Kelly Clarkson has a afternoon show on at 3:00.
Yes.
And she opens every show by singing a song.
Excellent.
And she's a phenom.
Smart.
She's an absolute phenom.
I love her.
I don't know if there's anything she can't sing.
She's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Have you encountered that in your life where you've heard somebody?
I was just going to ask that.
You thought, just what world did this person come from? Are there singers like that for you?
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. Even sometimes I used to like watching like the American Idols and the talent shows, and the most unassuming people would come up to the mic, and then this vocal delivery that just slays everybody, that's fun for me. But I can't pin, everyone's like, do you have a favorite singer? I don't have a favorite. I have a lot of favorites.
I have favorites, different styles, and how different people come in.
Yeah.
I always think that about that, and that was where my question about like, can vocal, strength be taught? Because I think of singers like Bono or Madonna who aren't good singers. I mean, they didn't start out as good singers,
right? Naturally
talented, good singers, but they found their art and they worked really hard, and they're phenomenal, right? And they're charismatic also, right? So is it true that like every person, or does it take a special ear to be able to do it? We can cut it out if you don't want to say it.
No, I think everyone can find their voice and do. I mean, there will be some people that are maybe more ear trained than other people, but I don't feel like there's anyone that just can't sing. I feel like that's immediately a confidence issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so I think everybody can find their voice, but it's a muscle like anything else. It would be like, I can't work out, or I can't run, I can't do a marathon, I can't. Yes, you can. And you might have to start like with walk 1 minute, run 1 minute, rock, like it's that kind of workout, and build the muscle just like any other part of your body.
Oh, what great advice. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
No, we really appreciate your time.
This has been fun to chat music.
Come back and play more songs.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Giselle.
Thank you.
I've always thought I could be in one of those death metal bands with the guttural vocals.
You totally could.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be great.
Like
the kind of stuff that makes me want to look over my shoulder.
That, right?
Yeah.
Thought,
Death metal.
Oh my God.
like that's one genre. It's like, man, that's
That's what I always think.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
That's amazing. It's like when you like a harp. When I I actually can make a nice sound with a harp. I can't do anything with a guitar, but a harp is kind of like, hey, I can actually.
How much time have you spent around harps?
Not much, but I remember just being so impressed with.
Okay, I was like, do you have one at home? And I don't know.
I can make a beautiful sound.
It's a hard instrument to learn.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there's something satisfying about the first time you just like, wow,
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. You gotta be good to get away. We're stealing our heart in the light of day. Fell hard and fast, it's a crying shame. I gave my love to a genuine fake. I could always spot a con until you came along. I was such a fool, I thought you were the real thing. You're just a wolf in sheep's clothing. What you see ain't always what you get. It looked like love, but it was counterfeit. Pretty little words I wanted to hear. Even the lies were music to my ears. You pulled my strings like a puppeteer, left me hanging tangled up when you disappeared. A diamond shine that was glass the whole time. I was such a fool, I thought you were the real thing. You're just a wolf in sheep's clothing. What you see ain't always what you get. It looked like love, but it was counterfeit. I could always spot a con until you came along. I was such a fool, I thought you were the real thing. You're just a wolf in sheep's clothing. What you see ain't always what you get. It looked like love, but it was counterfeit. You're gonna play me for a fool.
Hey all, thanks for meeting us in Bonn Park. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on the platform that you're listening to. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bonn Park Podcast. Original music by Alan Lung.